Hey guys, hello and welcome everyone. I'm so excited to have you join us here today. I've got a very special guest. Now, I met Felicia Cersei, I think 4 years ago, Felicia. I heard you speak. Yeah, I heard you speak at the Limitless Women event, I think it was, and I was just so touched and I had goosebumps. I just thought you're the most incredible speaker. I knew that we had to spend more time together. And when I was kicking off this interview series, I'm like, I know which expert I just have to bring on to share your genius. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, for those who don't know Felicia, I know some of you do, but for those who don't know Felicia, Felicia has worked for over the past 20 years from people from all walks of life who are seeking that spiritual side of success. And she's a highly sought after international speaker. She's shared the stage with some really big names, including motivational speaker Les Brown, and of course, the founder of the eWomenNetwork, Sandra Yancey. Now she's here with us today to discover those 3 keys to discover your purpose and to living your life big, and obviously to also go after your goals boldly and to achieve them. And so, Felicia, I just want to start off with, because we're going to be talking a little bit about, manifesting, and I want to start with universal law, because we're going to be getting into that today. So tell us about universal law and how that's going to apply to these 3 keys that you're going to be sharing with us today.
Well, it's foundational, right? That it's the thing that I want everybody to realize right now is just take a moment and contemplate just how brilliant and amazingly powerful you are. It's breathtaking, the power that we have right here at our fingertips, the capacity to create. And when we then take a step back and look at what is that creative capacity? That creative capacity is our ability to formulate thought, which are actually images, that we have this amazing faculty of our imagination, and that you are constantly mentally rehearsing images in your imagination. Your imagination, whatever it is that you're showing across the movie screen of your mind, then generates feelings. It's a sensation, a physiological sensation in your body that actually has a frequency to it. That frequency has mass to it. There's a weight to it that it now literally impresses into this invisible field of unformed energy. And in some fantastical way, and quantum physics is proving this, that it then organizes accordingly around the organizing pattern of you and creates your results. It becomes an organizing pattern. It becomes an attractive field. It's the basic explanation of the law of attraction, which is actually a secondary law. The real law is the law of vibration. So when we understand this, and now here's the thing, Tanya, that I want you all to step back and think about, because people in this juncture will often say, well, it's mindset. I want you to step back and just contemplate this indescribable power that gave us this capacity, and realize that when we really understand the gift that we've been given, which is to be able to create, and to create intentionally, because you're creating all the time. It's not like you can turn this off, but when you really become aware of it and you start working with it intentionally, this is the thing that we then dedicate our life to, because it is the most potent power in the entire universe. There is nothing more powerful than our capacity to create at will. And so when we talk about what part does universal law play in this, it's foundational. It is the purpose of our dream is to help us discover this power, and we get to experience it along the way. But universal law is it's foundational. It's foundational, and it's all throughout.
So, I mean, I know, like, a lot of people have seen The Secret, and they understand, the premise of manifesting, and they make vision boards, and they practice affirmations in the mirror every day. Why doesn't it work?
Because it doesn't go far enough. What we have to realize is that, and it's funny because I was talking to a group of people about this today. Well, obviously, it's what I talk about, right? But you have a way of being in the world. That way of being is the conversation that you're having with this invisible field. It's what many people call your energetic signature, that there's a beingness, there's an identity, which will then inform what you believe is possible for you, what you will allow or give consent to in your life. More importantly than that, it will inform the ideas that you're willing to entertain or not, and the opportunities that you can see or not, and the actions you take and the way in which you take those actions, which then generates your results. So what people do is that they get warm and fuzzy. They get excited about this, right? Because it feels good. You know, whenever we're hearing truth, there's a resonance. You're resonating with truth. And you'll build a vision board and you'll get pictures and you'll get all excited and you'll put that vision board up and you'll look at it on the way out the door. And the moment you walk out the door, you are no longer identified with or as that vision. You revert back to the default of being identified with who you currently are and your current life. And here's the thing, we're always in conversation with this invisible field. You can't not be in this conversation. So doing affirmations in front of the mirror and looking at your vision board, those things are great, but they don't go far enough. The practice, the mastery, is where you are living in the vision of your dream while you're moving in your daily routine, and you are beginning to identify with the person who created that dream result before a single thing in your world changes. You start asking, how does that person think? How does that person feel? How do they show up in this particular situation? Because what you're literally doing is transforming your physiology. You're transforming the way that you see yourself. We will never outperform the way we see ourselves, and you will never allow something that is beyond the way you see yourself. And so it's you know, even just right now, ask, who are you being as you're watching this? Are you the person who created your current results, or are you the person who created your dream results? There is a different energetic communication with each one of those identifications, with each one of those identifiers. And so the mastery work is to be in that continual identification of the person who already did this, the person who can do this, because that then shifts the way everything in your world will respond to you.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts there. I mean, one of the authors that I just love to read, and I think this is like the year of playing on loop, Dr. Joe Dispenza and Wayne Dyer. Like there's something in it at the moment in particular. And Joe Dispenza talks about, like, how would that person feel? Mm-hmm. How would that person move? And when I was preparing for this interview, and guys, for those of you who don't know me, hey, I'm Tanya Target Camacho. I'm a former investigative news journalist turned video speaking and media strategist. And so when I was preparing for our time together, Felicia, I was listening to one of the podcasts that you sent me, and you even took it one step further. You were like, how does that person brush their teeth?
Yeah.
How does that person do that activity? Which leads me to the next point. I'd love for you to talk about this. And I had a real aha moment when I was listening to Wayne Dyer say it. And he was talking about viruses in our minds. And that we have this kind of, I feel this way, I'm the person that I want to be feels this way. And we feel that way in that moment. But then the virus that we have uploaded as a child, as a young adult, that plays over and over and over, keeps repeating itself and like overlays that positivity. And so when you're talking about walking out the door, you look at the vision board and you're like, that's my house. And then you walk out the door and they'll hit traffic, maybe boom, virus reloads. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So if you go back to Joe Dispenza, because I love Joe Dispenza's work, he talks about how, we are literally physiologically wired for a certain way of being, right? Like, there's a beingness that goes with a belief. So I don't necessarily call it a virus. It's an old habit. It's a pattern, right? And it's a pattern that on some level, as crazy as this may sound, served. That pattern served, fear served, self-doubt served, even unworthiness on some kind of crazy bent way served. And so what I do, and what I support the people that I have the honor of working with, what I help them with is to notice when it pops up, right? Because it's a habit. It's the way that you have interacted with the world. You've got, just gazillion reps in your nervous system of showing up that way. And to build a skill called notice what you're noticing. It's one that I learned from my mentor, to really pay attention to what's happening in your body, the contractiveness of, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening, to the expansiveness of gratitude and fulfillment and creativity. When you feel yourself contracting, realize in that moment that there is a thought pattern that got triggered. And in the moment of that thought pattern, rather than looking at it as a virus, I invite my people to extend deep compassion for yourself, because there was what's triggering was a way of being that worked, and that you developed trust in that way of being. And now you've got people like me coming along and saying, all right, now I want you to start trusting a new way of being, a way of expansiveness, a way of gratitude, a way of creativity. And your head says, absolutely, I want that. But your body says, we don't have evidence that that works. So there's a piece of literally wrapping your arms around that part of you that wants to get triggered. It's like, I get it. I hear you. And let's try this. Let's try a different way of being in this moment. And then you begin to build a trust that you can live in a state of ease and fulfillment and creativity, and your world will not fall apart. I think that there's this disconnect of people long for it, right? They want to be able to live in that state, yet they don't have a foundation to trust it. And so as we build a trust level in, what I call this divine intelligence, this life force energy that wove us into existence from the very fabric of itself, and realize that the universe has got us. When we build a trust in these laws that, oh my gosh, when I'm mentally rehearsing and charged with my feelings really does become the organizing pattern, and that I really can trust good. I can trust good. I can trust that I can relax my guard and let go of my hypervigilance and know that good is active in my life, and I can trust the presence of good in my life. And the more you're able to do that, then the more you are willing to do the work to build a competency in being that person that's living your dream, and give yourself permission to be able to live at that degree and that experience.
Is that the generate state that I've heard you talk about before? Is that what you're talking about in this moment?
Yeah, you're generating a state of being, right? Because we're always generating a state of being, right? Most people do it unconsciously. What most people do is that they look at what's happening in their world, and then they let their world tell them how they should feel. You ask somebody, back in the day when I would travel, I'd love to ask, cashiers or somebody who's helping me with my bags up to my hotel room, how's your day going? Oh, so far so good. It's like they're waiting for the day to tell them what kind of day they're going to have. And you are reactive with a state of being. There's a state of being that goes with that. When you understand the power that you wield at your fingertips and your capacity to create, and realizing that who you're being is the conversation that you're having with this invisible field, then you become mindful about the state of being that you're in, and realize that you get to generate that. You get to show up however you want to be. And the beautiful thing about your dream or your vision, so the vision board, right? The vision board is there to inform you who you need to grow into. Our vision board informs us of what is the state of being that this life force energy is asking us to discover about ourselves and to generate. Let me say this one statement, Tanya, and then I'll let
go for it. I'm loving it.
The purpose of the vision board is not to, check, got all these things. It's to help you see, if it's big and bold enough, where are my growing edges? What do I need to discover more about myself? What do I need to develop more about myself? And where am I being called to ground in a deeper awareness that there is something so much bigger than me at work in my life? Your vision board is to help grow you. It's not to get things. It's for who you become in the process.
I love that. It's about finding your edges. I've never heard it described that way before. I heard my jaw almost dropped when I heard this. I was listening to, this is a while ago, I was listening to a lecture by Joe Dispenza a few years ago, and he was reliving a story, and he was talking about how he was running a live event, and this lady came up to me afterwards and she said, all this, manifestation stuff and living the life, it's all just a lie. I don't have the beach house that I imagined in my meditation, and I don't have this and I don't have that. None of it's true. And he turned to her and he said, well, have you become the person who would own the house like that? Who would drive the car like that? He's like, and then he goes, clearly you have it. I was just like, wow, okay.
Well, but here's the thing that I so appreciate about that, and that's one of the things that I'm very grateful, that I have the honor to be able to do that with the people that I work with. I don't mess around. This is their life that we're talking about. Yeah. This is not to be treated casually. We have been given the most potent, powerful energy in the entire universe, which is our capacity to create. We're doing it all the time. When we can understand that and then become committed to doing it intentionally, I pay high investments to have people have access to my thinking to help me see when I'm slipping into those kind of patterns. Because in that moment, that's the conversation I'm having with the energy field. And that's the disconnect between my beingness of now and my desired result and who life is asking me to grow into.
Felicia, are we always creating? You touched on, again, briefly in another interview I saw you do, where you talked about episodic manifestation. Are we, and I know that there are people who go, I'm really good at manifesting, but they don't manifest all the time. They kind of can manifest this, but then it's not the full vision board.
But we do manifest all the time. That's the thing that I want people to hear. You're always manifesting. People come up to me, and I'm going to answer your question, because there's a difference between episodic manifestation and what I call true transformation. But here's the thing I want everybody to get. You're always manifesting. Always. That
might be a bit of a concern.
Right? That's like saying, oh, well, let me use gravity every now and then. Right? It's like the law of gravity is always at work. The law of manifestation, the law of vibration is always working. And when
I just have to say, and by the way, guys, a big shout out to Karen and Diana for joining us live, and I can see more people watching. So please come and drop your questions for Felicia into the chat box and say hi. Let us know where you are watching live from or watching the replay. But I've just got to get some clarification on this, Felicia, because when The Secret came out years ago, I remember them sitting in the lounge room and the guy thinking about the elephant and the elephant pooping on the floor, and they telling us that there was a time delay in manifestation. But we're manifesting all the time. So there is a time delay, like because of the amount of negative thoughts that people have versus positive thoughts. That's a little bit scary. I mean, who else is with you? Is there an elephant going to come into my office now?
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? It may or may not show up exactly as you're saying, but when you think about, let's go back to the conversation about generating state, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the state that we habitually live in, And so, one of the things that I notice with the people that get drawn to my community, and Tanya, you'll appreciate this, AAA high achievers, right? Deeply committed to making a difference. And there's a pervasive way of being of got to make it happen. So there's
instead of allowing.
Yeah, there's this push energy. So that then becomes your beingness. That is the state that you're generating. And it's a state that says life is hard, right? It's an energetic pattern that says life is only worth it if you're working hard and things come to you in a hard way. It's hard. And so the only thing you can do then, I mean, really, not to say that it won't happen now and then, but the experience that you're now broad stroking on this, on this invisible field is an experience of working hard. And so what you're manifesting is the experience. So even if things come to you easily, number one, most people won't even recognize it. And if you do recognize it, you don't trust it. And you don't allow yourself to truly be in the experience. That people will sometimes, they'll feel relief. It's like, okay, good. Now everything's okay. But relief is an indicator that you have placed your reliance on what's happening outside of you and losing sight that you are the creator. So when we're talking about time delay, right? That, manifestation, what you're doing is that you're creating your current experience. And so your dream then invites you to discover, it invites you to, it informs you of who is it that you want to be. And the beingness then creates the experience. Now, the difference between episodic manifestation and true transformation, episodic manifestation, I will be happy when. Let me visualize the house. Let me visualize the car. Let me visualize the job, because right now there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with my life. I am unhappy. Let me visualize this, and that will come, and I'm going to hold it in energy. And when it comes, everything's going to be great. And oh, great, here it is. Now I'm okay. But nothing's happened internally for you to discover where true okayness comes from. So you may get the object, but you have not transformed where you are truly at a place of deep well-being, where you see the object simply as a reflection of your growth. Instead, you're seeing the object as an answer. The object is not an answer. The object is simply a reflection. The outcome, the result, is just simply a reflection. True transformation is when you understand that you're in it to discover more of who you are, and your world then organizes accordingly. Did that answer at least somewhere?
Absolutely. How did you get into this? Was this something that it's always been a part of your life, or was this something that you came across a few years ago? How did you fall into this line of work? And as you take that and answer that, I did love this little soundbite you gave, because your background, because I asked you, Flesh, I said, were you a pastor? You said, no, I'm a minister. I'm an ordained minister. And I love that, because you talk about God's creations, and I fervently believe in that too. And you were talking about, you were given these gifts to create and to manifest. When did this gift come to you?
Great question. So I, like so many people on this planet, right, grew up in a very dark environment. There was, both my parents were mentally ill. My mother struggled with addiction. So lots of darkness, lots of abuse. And what that did, the way that I interacted with it and interpreted, is that it wired in a pattern, a way of looking at the world, a way of being that said life was not safe. The world was not here for me. It could not be trusted. Keep your head low. I didn't deserve it. I must have done something to deserve that kind of behavior, and created in me a very dark sense of desperation. And I just remember, I was in my early 20s, remember thinking, there's got to be a different way. I'll never forget this. I was I was teaching at the time, and I was doing hall duty. I taught at a high school, and so I'm sitting at the front of a hall, as the kids are going back and forth, and I can remember this thought. I mean, it's like all of a sudden I just saw my future, and I thought, oh my God, is this my future? Is this what it's going to be forever? And it's like there was a part of me that just wanted to curl up right there in the middle of 2,000 students and just die. I just wanted to die. And I can remember thinking, I'm not doing this. There has got to be a different way. And it was that moment of decision. And in that moment of decision, it's like it opened me in a way that I just had never allowed myself to be open before. And, the old adage, when the pupil's ready, the teacher will appear. That's when I really became aware of these principles, this work, and began to study it. And it just transformed fundamentally.
And there was, I was asking you, before we were coming together today as well, the challenges that you'd had, and I think it's always so important to work with people who walk their talk. And you've had challenges in your life too, where you've not had to, but made the decision, obviously, to put into application what you have learned. I'd love for you to share a little bit about what you went through with your husband.
Yeah, so I've been a student of this for decades, right? And I'm a minister of a church that teaches this. I'm a New Thought Unity minister. So my life got really good. I mean, applied it, life got really good. I got a calling. I realized that I wanted to go much deeper with this work. I wanted to be able to work more deeply with people broadly. So I stepped out of ministry and stepped into doing this as a business. And it was literally 3 weeks after making that decision and stepping into doing this work that my husband got sick. I mean, really seriously ill. We weren't sure if he was going to make it or not. And it was long term. But at the time, I really didn't know exactly what was going on. And we found out that our insurance didn't cover this illness. And it was one of those moments where I had a decision to make. And my decision was, do I keep going with this, or do I fall back to a safer route, which at the time would have been to go back to teaching, because I knew I could get my husband insured in a matter of a couple of days. But because of the work that I've been doing in this study, and at that point, I realized that I wanted an even deeper dive, and so hooked my wagon to an amazing mentor, and worked with her for several years. I realized that here's the moment to put this to the test. There was a lot riding on that test. I mean, literally, my husband's life was riding on that test. But there was just something so profound inside of me that spoke up and said, trust what you've been learning. Trust the foundation upon which you've built your life. Trust that as you allow yourself to receive the dream, because I want everybody to hear that dream is not yours. That dream has been given to you by this life force energy itself. Trust the laws, trust the dream, trust the power that is moving through you, and trust your mentor. That as I did that, it was breathtaking what happened. Now, here's the thing. I didn't just throw it out to the universe and hope for the best. I got busy taking massive imperfect action, because again, there was so much riding on it. But it caused me to go so deep into what I was teaching in terms of really building, go beyond like a conceptual understanding. And it became so grounded in me that it doesn't matter what's going on in your world. These laws are always at work. There's a power always at work. And when we really dedicate our lives to learning that and growing in that, you transform and your world transforms accordingly. And what I love about this, Tanya, because it was a good 3 years, my first year of business, we figured it out. He spent like 5.5, 6 months in some sort of medical facility, trying to trying to get an answer to what was going on and to keep him alive. I mean, literally, just literally to keep him alive. There's not a single thing that somebody can come to me and say, well, here's the reason why I can't go for my dream. I can just wrap my arms around this, and I know it feels like that, but I'm here to tell you that there is nothing stronger than the power moving through you, and that your dream is the catalyst for you to discover that power, not only overcome, but transform and transcend whatever is happening in your life. So now you can use this to, like the hero's journey, come back and serve your community.
I think there's two things here. I mean, I know for some of the ladies who are watching at the moment, you know, Karen's talking about manifesting is happening a lot quicker for her. And I know that Karen, you know, very active in this field. But there'll be some people who aren't. There'll be some people who don't know what their dream is. What would be your advice to someone who's struggling to be connected to what their mission or their purpose is? What's the first step that they could do? And I know you have a free gift. I'm not sure if that's a good time to mention it, Felicia, but what would be the first step? And I am going to share that because Felicia does have a free gift for everybody here today. So I encourage you to go and please grab that. But, you know, for the person who's feeling there's something missing, for the person who's just feeling, like an emptiness and not sure what that dream is, Felicia, how can they connect to that? What's that first step?
I think the first step is to really start connecting, you know, building a much deeper, richer, more intimate relationship with this life force energy. I think the challenge can be oftentimes, you know, people think of manifestation as, how do I want to say this? I think people treat it casually. It's like, let me reach for it when it's convenient kind of thing. And even if you're doing that, you still run the risk of manifesting for the sake of manifesting, and there's still an emptiness in that. When somebody is really longing to know purpose, I usually direct people to the first place to start is to deepen a sense of awe and wonder and a deep sense of community and companionship with this very life force energy that created you. Realize that you didn't put yourself here. You can't even take one breath on your own. That there was something so profound that saw that you were necessary and wove you into existence from the very fabric of itself, which is love, that you are love incarnated. And the more you're able to really access that part of you, the more that you're really able to know that for yourself, then the more you're able to give yourself permission to hear a desire. Because I think what often happens, you know, what I discover with people is that people know more than what they're allowing themselves to know. It's not so much that you may not even know what your dream is. I think it's a matter of giving yourself permission to hear it. Understand where that dream is coming from. That dream is not yours. It is not you trying to figure out your dream and then hoping that your dream comes true. It's opening yourself up to the communication from this life force energy that is asking you to accept the gift of the dream in order for you to become who you are created to be, to become the person even more that you are created to be, and to bring the gift of your dream. And so as you deepen your relationship with this life force energy, you become more willing to hear what your dream is, and then to work with the most powerful, potent, holiest of all questions that you can work with, which is, what would I love? What would I love? Understanding that it is love itself, seeking a richer, freer, fuller expression by means of you. So play with it, get curious about it, and really come into that deep conversation. Ask this energy to reveal itself to you. Ask it to help you see how loved and cherished and how nurtured and nourished you are, how richly supplied you are, and how you are here by divine appointment. Your dream is your divine appointment. Living a life that you love is your purpose. That's your only purpose. Live the life that you love, because that is when you bring your highest contribution.
I just love that. I love how you phrase that, that the dream was given to you. It reminds me of, did you read Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert? It was like years ago. I'm like, I don't even know, like 7, 8 years ago.
I've not read that by her.
Oh, it's really good. And she talks about an idea being like a thing. And the minute you hear the idea, you need to go and catch it, because it's like a voice on a wind, and you got to, the breeze comes by and you got to catch it, because then if you don't actually implement it, the big idea moves to different people. And there's scientific evidence of people that, like, penicillin was discovered in 4 different places at the exact same time all around the world. And so an idea is like a physical thing that you got to catch and act on. And it reminded me of that, in that it's not that someone else is going to catch your dream, right? But that your dream is a physical thing that was given to you for you to go and do, which is tied into what is it that you love to do.
That's it.
I'm curious to know your mind, because we spend so much time on all kinds of things, but it really is won or lost in our mind, everything that we do. What's your mindset routine? How do you keep as amazing? I mean, I've known you for 4 years. You haven't changed.
It's I've grown, right?
Oh, of course, without a doubt. But how do you stay connected? What's your daily mindset routine?
Okay, and I'm gonna walk with me, Tanya. I didn't.
Oh, great! I'll go full screen for you.
Yeah. I didn't realize that I had. I was going to have people coming in. We've got our house on the market, and it's been. This is what it looks like as you're living your dream in the middle of it, right?
Yeah.
So every morning I do an hour to an hour and a half meditation, where I'm just dwelling in the presence. I'm literally feeling the presence of this life force energy. I read my vision and my purpose. I do some journaling about who am I going to be. And then throughout the day, I'm asking, who am I being in this moment? What is my intent in this moment? What increase do I want to bring in this moment, realizing that is the generation of state. And as I'm generating that state, then my world then reflects accordingly, and I have the experience. The other thing that I do is that I stay and study. I stay with a teacher. I study and listen to something every single day. Oftentimes it's the same thing, because the power of repetition. It's not just conceptually hearing the words and say, oh, I know that, but it's the literal wiring the idea, the principle, the philosophy into my beingness. So I then come from that it becomes my go-to, my natural state. And I'm continually challenging myself to go beyond my current edges and ask, what's the bigger, bolder idea? What's the bigger, bolder identity? Where's the thing that causes me to catch my breath that I want to back away from? It's like, okay, that's where we're leaning into, because there's the growing edge. There's the invitation from the universe, this life force energy, for me to discover more of who I am created to be. And this is the greater degree of contribution that I'm being asked to bring.
Oh, absolutely love that. So you, and what I think is pivotal there is not just, of course, that meditation in the morning, but the checking in throughout the day. So that when you walk past that vision board and you go out the front door, you're still checking into who am I being in that moment.
Yeah.
It's just such gold you're sharing. Felicia, how can people, we've got a free gift, guys, to everybody, and I do encourage you to go and get it. How else can they connect to you?
Yeah, so I actually do monthly master classes, 3-hour deep dive into this. They're free. The only thing I ask is that you make a charitable contribution to a cause of your choice. And so this is live. And so as those of you watching live, I've got one coming up March 19th. That's next Friday from 9:30 to 12:30 Pacific time. Come hang out. It's an amazing community. We dive deep into this material, really help you deepen your understanding of what are the causes of your results, deepen that sense of community and companionship with this life force energy, help you begin to get clarity about what your dream is and overcome those things that pop up to stop you.
How do they register for that, Felicia? Because I'll put it quickly up there for them.
It's FeliciaCersei.com/dream life.
Okay, I'm just going to put this up here for you guys. I'm going to put you on big screen, Felicia, just while I write that. Free masterclass Felicia was talking about. Is FeliciaCersei.com/dream life. Go and check this out. Is that correct? Have I got that right?
Yep.
Banners on the go. There we go. Go and check out that free masterclass. That sounds absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for coming and playing and joining us. And,
yeah, I so appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, my total pleasure. And guys, thanks for joining us. If you have any questions for Felicia, please leave them in the comments. If you are watching the replay and you have a question for Felicia, please drop it in. And I can't encourage you enough to go and connect with literally one of the most amazing women I've ever had the good fortune to meet. And the minute I met her, I'm like, okay, you're in my circle. Take care, guys, and have a great day wherever you are in the world. Take care.